For years, Ebony and her husband, Emeka, tried to conceive, but fate was unkind. Doctors could not pinpoint the issue, leaving them in despair. They prayed, sought traditional remedies, and even considered adoption, but deep down, Ebony longed to feel life grow inside her. Then, after years of disappointment, the impossible happened. She was pregnant. At 43, her pregnancy was labeled high risk, but she and Emeka did everything to protect their unborn child. Emeka, ecstatic, worked tirelessly to ensure Ebony had everything she needed. They painted the nursery, chose names, and envisioned a bright future. But fate had another cruel twist. The day Ebony went into labor, Emeka was doing a double shift at work. He received the call and without hesitation, he rushed out in the pouring rain, eager to be by his wife's side and to meet his son. In his excitement, he jumped into his car and sped off to the hospital, without thinking of the slippery roads. His car skidded out of control, crashing into an oncoming truck. By the time emergency responders arrived, it was too late. Emeka was gone. Hours later, when Ebony woke up after a difficult delivery, she was met with the news that shattered her heart. Her joy of becoming a mother was overshadowed by grief. From that moment on, her son, Tunde, became her entire world. Ebony raised Tunde with unwavering dedication. She did not remarry, fearing that another man might not love Tunde as Emeka would have. She sacrificed her personal happiness to ensure her son had everything. She was his shadow, never leaving him for a second. Even as he grew, she remained protective, fearful that something might take him away, just as fate had taken Emeka. Tunde adored his mother, but as he became a man, her overbearing presence began to weigh on him. He wanted independence, yet Ebony struggled to let go. When he secured a job in the city, she insisted on moving with him. Tunde hesitated but relented, not wanting to hurt her. However, her presence in his new life proved to be the beginning of a storm he never saw coming. The city was a new world for both Tunde and Ebony. While he was eager to embrace his new career and experiences, Ebony remained suspicious of everything and everyone. She feared that he would forget her, that he would be swept away by the fast-paced life of the city. Her worst fear, however, was the idea of another woman taking her place in Tunde's heart. It wasn't long before Tunde met Ada, a kind and intelligent woman who captured his heart. For the first time, he felt something real, something that made him excited about the future. But Ebony saw Ada as a threat. She began planting seeds of doubt in Tunde's mind, subtly criticizing Ada's intentions and background. Though Tunde loved Ada, his mother's words lingered in his thoughts. When Ebony finally told Tunde that she overheard Ada speaking ill of him, he broke things off. Ada, heartbroken and confused, left his life, and Ebony breathed a sigh of relief. But this was only the beginning. Time passed, and Tunde continued to meet women, but none lasted long. Ebony always found a way to poison his relationships. Some women she accused of dishonesty, others of rudeness, and in one shocking instance, she claimed a girlfriend had physically attacked her. Tunde, believing his mother, ended things each time. But then he met F. Unlike the others, F was strong-willed and perceptive. She sensed Ebony's influence early on and refused to be easily driven away. Tunde was madly in love with her, and despite Ebony's efforts, he refused to let her go. This sent Ebony into a desperate frenzy, leading her to the most dangerous act yet. Determined to rid her son of F, Ebony resorted to drastic measures. One evening, F prepared a special meal for Tunde, eager to welcome him back from a business trip. As she set the table, she stepped out momentarily, unaware that Abeni was watching. When Tunde arrived, excited to see his beloved, he sat down to eat. The moment the food touched his tongue, he spat it out. It was unbearably salty. F was stunned. She had tasted the food earlier, and it had been perfectly fine. She knew right then and there it was Abeni. One day after visiting her mother for a weekend, F discussed the situation with her mother, who warned her to be careful of Abeni. "She's afraid of losing him to you," her mother said. "To prevent that from happening, she'll do just about anything," she continued. F nodded and promised her mother that she would be extra careful around her. After returning to Tunde's house, F began to record her time in the kitchen, setting up her phone in hidden spots whenever she stepped away. Days later, the horrifying truth was revealed. F waited for the right moment to share some devastating news with Tunde. He listened in disbelief. He was gutted knowing his mother had deliberately ruined his happiness. Anguish and betrayal overwhelmed him. He confronted Abeni, but she denied it at first, then broke down, justifying her actions with a desperate plea, "I did it to protect you." Tunde, devastated, walked away, leaving Abeni alone with her regrets. F did not reveal that she used her camera phone to record Abeni's actions. She withheld that information from Tunde. Instead, she told him she saw her with her own eyes, as she wanted to catch her doing something more drastic on camera, and that day was about to come. Despite what he was told, Tunde struggled to accept the truth. His love for his mother warred with his love for F. But Abeni was not finished. She realized she was losing control over her son and took a more drastic step. One afternoon, as F rested after preparing lunch, Abeni entered the kitchen again. She checked on F and saw that she was asleep, so in her mind, there was no way she could see what she was about to do. This time, she added something far worse than salt into the small pot of stew and went back to her room. A while later, F woke from her nap and returned to the kitchen. Remembering her previous suspicions, she checked the recording on her phone. What she saw and heard sent chills down her spine. Abeni pouring an unknown substance into the food so she could get rid of F once and for all. She immediately called Tunde, urging him to come home, but he was caught up in a meeting. F went into a state of panic, but when Abeni came downstairs, she gathered herself and played calm. She offered Abeni some of the food, but of course, she refused, claiming she wasn't hungry. F, pretending not to suspect anything, dished out a plate of food, but did not eat. She watched Abeni as she took out a bottle of water from the refrigerator and hummed herself back upstairs, thinking she was about to get what she wanted. After a short while, F threw the food into the bin and covered it with other trash, so that Abeni would not see it, if she should check the bin. F went back to her room, and not long after, Abeni came knocking on the door. "What is it, Abeni?" F asked. "I'm just here to let you know that I'm stepping out for a while," Abeni said. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm not feeling too well," F responded, but that was a lie. She wanted to see Abeni's reaction. With a small smirk, Abeni told her to get some rest, and that she hoped she felt better soon. With that said, she made her way downstairs and through the front door, thinking her mission was completed. Later that evening, Tunde arrived, exhausted but happy to be home. He saw that F was already asleep, and did not want to wake her. He went to the kitchen and ate without hesitation. Moments later, pain racked his body, and he collapsed, knocking over the glass coffee table. The crash woke F, who rushed downstairs to find him vomiting and writhing in agony. Panic gripped her as she realized what had happened. She called for help, her heart pounding with fear, and Tunde was rushed to the emergency room. At the hospital, doctors worked frantically to stabilize Tunde. F, desperate for answers, called Ebony. She demanded to know what had been put in the food. At first, Ebony denied everything, feigning ignorance. But when F revealed she had video proof and that Tunde was in critical condition after eating the food, Ebony's heart sank. She confessed it was a herbal concoction, but it was not meant for Tunde. After all, it was lunch and not dinner. Tunde was supposed to be at work until late tonight, she said. Horrified, F relayed the information to the doctors, who quickly administered the correct treatment. Hours later, Tunde stabilized. When he regained consciousness the next morning and learned the full extent of his mother's actions, he was shattered. The woman who had devoted her life to protecting his had nearly taken it instead. Ebony, overwhelmed with guilt, broke down in tears, realizing she had lost the one person she had tried so desperately to keep. The hospital room was silent except for the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. Tunde lay in bed, pale but stable, while F sat beside him, holding his hand. He had barely spoken since waking up, his mind still reeling from the betrayal. Ebony sat in a chair across the room, her eyes swollen from crying. She had lost the fight to keep her son, but worse, she had almost lost him forever. A sudden knock at the door interrupted the tense silence. 2 police officers entered, their expressions grim. F had reported everything, and with the video evidence, there was no doubt about Ebony's guilt. Mrs. Ebony Adisa, you are under arrest for the attempted murder of F. Okafor and the attempted murder of your son, Tunde Adisa, one of the officers said firmly. Ebony gasped, her hands shaking. No, this wasn't supposed to happen. I only wanted to protect him, she sobbed, reaching toward Tunde. My son, please. I never meant for you to eat the food. It was meant for her. Tunde's eyes darkened with pain. You tried to poison the woman I love. His voice was barely above a whisper, but it cut through Ebony like a blade. And you almost killed me in the process. As the officers handcuffed Ebony, she wailed, struggling against their grip. Tunde, please. You're all I have. I did it for us. Tunde turned his head away, unable to look at her. The mother who had once been his whole world was now a stranger. The officers led Ebony away, her cries fading as she disappeared down the hospital corridor. F squeezed Tunde's hand, offering silent support. He squeezed back, realizing for the first time that love was not about control or possession, it was about trust and letting go. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of everything that had happened still hung over Tunde like a dark cloud. Ebony remained in custody, awaiting trial, and Tunde was left to pick up the shattered pieces of his life. He visited her once, but their conversation was brief. Ebony begged for forgiveness, but Tunde, though heartbroken, could not give it to her just yet. I need time, he had told her before walking away. F remained by his side, her love unwavering. She had seen the worst of his mother and yet understood that Ebony's actions had stemmed from a deep, twisted love. But love, when tainted by fear and obsession, could be just as destructive as hate. One afternoon, Tunde and F stood by the window of their new apartment. They had decided to move, to start fresh away from the ghost of the past. Tunde held F close, gratitude filling his heart. I don't know what I would have done without you, he admitted. F smiled gently. You don't have to do it alone anymore. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, Tunde took a deep breath. The wounds of the past would take time to heal, but for the first time in his life, he was free. Free to love, free to live, free to finally be his own man. And with F by his side, he knew he would never walk this path alone. The moral of this story is that love, when mixed with fear and control, can become toxic. Ebony's devotion to her son turned into an obsession, leading her to destroy his relationships and almost his life. Her inability to let go and accept that Tunde needed his own happiness ultimately led to her downfall. Valuable life lesson: true love, whether parental, romantic, or platonic, requires trust and selflessness. Holding on too tightly out of fear of loss only pushes people away. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is learning to let go.